Hey everybody. There's another topic that people mention to us quite often when we meet them, at a coffee shop for lunch, especially founders. They say, I have this startup idea. I don't want to mention it to anyone because someone might go and run off and, build it before I can do it and kind of steal my idea, which is, I think, something we've both thought about a lot. And
Yeah.
how would you, normally respond to someone who says like, will someone steal my idea if I put it out there?
Yeah, I think it's a really natural thing to feel that you want to kind of keep it and not put it out there until it's like really polished. I think the interesting thing for me when I think about it is that when you build a startup, like you're basically creating something that doesn't exist already. There's a lot of risk there, right? Like you're building something that is completely new. It might not work. Like that's what the whole lean startup movement's about, right? Is to try and validate sooner. So I feel like in order to figure out if your idea is something that's actually going to work, it's essential that you share it with people. So you're going to have to do it sooner or later, and the longer you leave it, the more risk there is that you spend a long time. Maybe you spend a year working on something, and then eventually you put it out there and find out, okay, it's not quite something that fully resonates and doesn't pick up. So I think it's going to be hard if you try and keep it to yourself and don't share it. So I almost take it to the other extreme, and I want to encourage people to share it as soon as possible.
That's also something I remember when you got started, both with One Page and with Buffer, right? You went out there and did it like immediately with the landing page. You shared it with everyone.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
worked very well.
it's worked very well, and I always like encourage people to look at the Lean Startup book by Eric Ries, and these concepts are really powerful. Like when I started Buffer, I accidentally started coding because I'm a programmer. Like that's the natural thing to do, and I have an idea. But then after a day, I kind of stopped myself and said, like, well, I should really figure out if this is something people want before I just keep building it further. So I put up a landing page without the product existing, and then people could kind of go to that landing page, put their email in, and do like the full process almost to sign up. But then the product didn't exist. But then I'd have the conversations with those people that put emails in, and that was really powerful. I think one of the other interesting things that I believe is that if someone, say the worst case, someone does take your idea, I think they will never have the passion that you have for that idea, right? Because they didn't come up with it. So I think, you coming up with it is very powerful. Like there's just something different there.
Copying something you don't feel as empowered, right? It's like It's not an idea that's sprung out of your head. Everyone has once seen someone has become envious of someone, like because they have a cool idea, but you would never feel, even if you want to try it yourself, right?
Yeah.
You'll never feel that ownership, right?
Exactly, and the thing with startups is that I'm sure anyone else that's like in the process of doing a startup would agree is like there's going to be so many ups and downs. Nothing is smooth. There's a lot to figure out, and you take some wrong turns a lot of times, and so you have down days and you have up days, and one day to the next can be like you're on a high and then you're on a low. And the thing is, I think if you've copied the idea and it's someone else's, then there's only going to be so many lows you have before you kind of don't feel motivated to carry on. So I think having the idea yourself, to have that passion is partly what's going to help you get through things.
Especially, and now that you mentioned it, I think about it, especially because someone, oftentimes the idea that you start out with is very rarely the idea you keep working on like
Exactly.
a year later or
That's
2
a
years
great
later.
point.
So like even if you start with something and then, even if someone copies it, right, you might realize in a year, well, that's not how I want to keep going anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's always, it can be interesting, right? How many times, if someone does copy something, a pricing page or something, like by that time you've moved on to the next version of it, right? That one didn't work anyway, so you're moving on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a couple of thoughts from us around, why putting your idea out there early is probably super valuable. Love to hear everyone else's experiences on that.